Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. As you can see, this is something a little bit different than what I typically post. But as you can see by the title, this is going to be how to edit night photos shot on an older camera. So I'm going to throw on my screen share in Lightroom. And so this was shot on a Canon T2i. So I was at 400 ISO and just reset this from what I was doing before. So this was shot at 400 ISO, 125th of a second, f1.8 on a 50 millimeter. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my exposure just so I can see what I'm working with, if it will actually work perfect. So the main big tip about shooting night photos or editing night photos shot on an older camera is going to be you don't have that option to use crazy amounts of exposure, highlights, or edits in general, because you're working with very little dynamic range compared to higher end cameras. So a really easy trick to use when editing night photos is doing more of a silhouette edit. So bringing out your highlights, decreasing your shadows. And as far as colors and all that, that's kind of your choice. The first thing I want to do to this image is I'm going to decrease the contrast, just fade it out a little bit. There we go. So for silhouetting, we're going to bring up the highlights just slightly. I'm probably going to come back to this and come down to our shadows. Such, leave the whites for now. And we're gonna come down to our tone curve. I'm gonna throw a dot right in the middle. I'm gonna fade out the shadows just ever so slightly. That. And then because I know I want this photo to have an overall blue feel, tone, color grade to it, we're gonna head over to the blue tone curve. Same thing, we're just gonna drop a point there. And we're just gonna bring just a little bit of a blue fade into those shadows, just like that. And I'm gonna bring this exposure back down ever so slightly. Something like that looks good. Now I don't want to bring these highlights up so much that you can't tell what's in the background. I still want it to be visible and all that. So we'll come back to the highlights in a bit. Next, we're going to head down to color. Now, typically, I don't actually use the temperature slider for a majority of my photos. I usually go through the color grade wheel. But for this particular instance, we're going to use the temperature slider because I want a general overall blue feel. We're just going to bring a bunch of blue into this image. So I don't want it too much as to make it look alien-like, but just enough to add a nice blue tone to it. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. So I'm not going to touch anything else for color for now. Go into effects. And because even though there isn't so much a general central focal point other than the people walking, I still want to bring that center attention to that. So we're going to bring the vignetting down to, say, -15 looks good. I'll go with that. And then I'm going to play around with our clarity and dehaze here a little bit. So I'm going to bring the clarity down. That looks good. Just a smidge of dehaze. Yeah, like that. Not gonna touch texture. And then before I do absolutely anything else, and this actually should have been one of my first steps, is I'm just going to fix up the optics, click those two little boxes. And as well, I'm doing this like completely backwards. I also should have cropped this photo to begin with as well. So we're gonna do that and straighten it. We're gonna head down to 4x5. I'm going to use this dude. It's kind of in the center here. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to bring this down. I actually don't want this little flag up in the corner. So I'm going to bring that down like that. And then down from this corner if my computer will work. There we go. Something. Yeah, quite like that. So we're going to head into detail here. And I'm just going to fix up my noise reduction a little bit, just to help with some of that noise. Bring down the sharpening. That. And we're going to go back here to light because I want to adjust a couple of things. So I'm actually going to bring my shadows down a little bit more, and I'm going to raise my highlights. Not much more though. I actually bring my exposure up a little bit more. And then just to kind of finish this off, we're going to go to linear gradient, add so I don't actually use these often, but I am in this instance because I'm not quite happy with the bottom half of this image. So I'm just going to bring the general exposure on that bottom half of the image down. So just something like that. That actually looks sick. Fade that out just a little bit. And just to add just ever so slightly more of a pop to the top side of this image, we're going to do pretty much exactly the same thing. Just I'm going to raise the exposure just slightly. Yeah, I actually think that looks pretty good. Okay, so overall, that's going to be our finished product, and I'm actually quite happy with that. So there you have it. That is how you can kind of go about editing night photos and using more of that silhouette technique for shooting on an older camera. So I hope this helps some of you guys out. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will be doing more of these. They will hopefully get better as I go along. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.